Jujutsu is a newish version control system with a Git backend. I've been a Mercurial holdout for the last 15 years, and Jujutsu is the first version control system that's really clicked with my brain. So I learned Jujutsu thanks to Steve's tutorial, and I use it for maintaining a set of new features and bug fixes on an open source project called Jethro. So here I've got a checkout of my Jethro clone. It's a little PHP project, and if we do a JJ log, this double colon means show me immutable commits that are pushed on GitHub. So here you can see what my clone looks like. So this is the upstream head, the master commit on upstream, and everything above it is my changes. So the way you read a git log like this is for each vertical set of commits, you find the most recent one and you look sideways to the bookmark, and hopefully the bookmark has been named sufficiently to identify what these are about. So that's a that's a new feature. These two commits are me fixing PHP 8.4 deprecations. These are me running PHP fixer, and the rest are new features and bug fixes. And right at the top here, I've got a merge commit that merges all my changes into one unified code base for me to work on. If I wanted to implement a new feature, I would do that up here on top of the merged code base. And when I'm happy with the new feature, I would rebase it onto the most recent upstream commit, this guy. And then I would rebase my merge to incorporate the new change commit. And that has the effect of moving the commit with the new feature from the tip to a new parallel branch here in the set of features. And then I would go to GitHub and create a new pull request. So that's the general pattern of how I've been using GitHub, and it is described on this page on Steve's tutorial. So here you can see he's got a similar setup with a merge commit. This video is what to do when your upstream makes new commits, and in particular what happens if they merge some of your pull requests. So that's what has happened in my project here. If I do a git remote list, you can see I've added upstream, a remote for upstream, and now I can do git fetch the new commits from the upstream. And now if we do a JJ log, it's much messier. So if you trace chronologically, you can see what's happened. There's the original upstream, and since then he's fixed a bug, fixed another bug. Here's one of my pull request commits that Tom has merged in here. There's another one that Tom has merged. So Tom was in PR merging mode. He's gone through all my PRs and merged quite a lot of them, all the way up to here, which is the master commit on upstream. So that's Tom's most recent commit. Unfortunately, Tom did not merge all my changes. Well, I didn't actually submit all of them as PRs, so that's understandable. So those two, which is a new feature, those two, which is the PHP fixer stuff. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of commits that have not been merged, and I would like to rebase these on top of the new master commit. And then secondly, I'll need to rebase my merge to incorporate only these 6 commits and not all these ones that are already merged, because their changes will be that we'll get those merged changes through this being the parents of the ones that we want to keep. So the question is, how do we identify these commits, and then how do we rebase them onto our new master? So Jujutsu has what's called rev sets, and I think this was a mercurial feature originally. It's a little language for identifying commits in a commits graph like this. And in particular, we will be using this construct, the x.y. And x.y, you read it back to front. You say, starting from this second commits identifier, give me the ancestors of it that are not also ancestors of the first one. So in our situation, we'll be saying, give me the ancestors of these commits, or these commits and their ancestors that aren't also ancestors of this master commit in upstream. So you can imagine that there is a common ancestor of, down there somewhere, there's a common ancestor of, for instance, this commit and the master that we want to rebase onto. And this little construct, x.y, will identify that subtree and let us then merge it or rebase it onto the destination. So let's, whenever you're contemplating a rebase, you should first do a log. So that's the construct. X will be master at upstream, and then Y will be, well, how do we identify these revisions? They are all children of this guy. And in RevSet language, to say the children of something, you give the identifier and you add a minus. So that's going to say, as I said, you read it backwards, the children of this, that's this, that, all these children, excluding the ancestors of this one, which is here. And because some of these commits are in fact ancestors of the merged commit because they've been merged, so this expression is going to exclude the ones that have already been merged, but it'll include the ones that haven't been merged, which is what we want. And if you look at it, those little sub-branches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sub-branches are the sub-branches that we want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's basically the correct rev set to identify the sub-branches we want to rebase. So as for the actual rebase, this help page is very useful. So when rebasing, there's 3 ways of identifying which revisions you actually want to move around. Most simply, there's the -r, which is just pick a revision and cherry pick it and pull just that one out to rebase it onto a new destination, and all the children of it will sort of collapse down. The second one is -s, which I like to think of it as subtree. And so say you were rebasing -s, this node here, it'll rebase that and its children, and the whole little subtree of that revision and its children will be rebased onto the destination that you give. And then -b is more complicated, and we'll come to it a bit later. But I'm going to be using -s to identify trees, subtrees that I want to rebase to there. So let's have a look at our log here. Log is currently identifying little subtrees, and we can now go rebase -s to the destination master at upstream. So that's roughly correct. The first thing we need to fix is that when you give it an S, rebase-S, you need to give it only the root commit of each subtree. So we want to identify the root commit of each of these subtrees. If we were to just run this command right now, Jujutsu would rebase this commit onto master upstream, and then independently it would rebase this one onto master upstream, and it would be a mess. So we want to, I think it's a roots is the function that will identify only the roots of each of these subtrees. So for instance, we would want that one. Whoops. I didn't want to do, I wanted to do JJ log. Okay, so there we've identified the roots of each subtree we want to rebase. And now it's roughly correct. Now we can go rebase -S, and the destination will be master at upstream. So that doesn't work out the box because Jujutsu is just saying that, oh, crikey, that rev set's evaluated multiple subtrees. Did you really want that? If you did, then you need to give it an all prefix. And secondly, because this is all committed to GitHub, all the commits are immutable, and we don't care because our whole GitHub repository is not for collaborating on. It's purely like a staging area for commits to upstream. So I don't care about immutability. I'm going to ignore immutable. So before let's just recap on the current state of things, and now we can run our rebase. So it's succeeded. There's no errors. There are lots of new conflicts, and we'll fix those conflicts a bit later. Right now we're just going to do the tree rearrangement. Let's look at the new tree. So where is master? There's master at upstream. That's what we rebased onto. And there you can see our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little subtrees have correctly been rebased onto master at upstream. Our merge commit isn't yet fixed, but we'll deal with that later. So it's basically worked. One little thing that I've noticed is that we've lost all the bookmark labels. So I'm going to undo that that rebase. Jujutsu has a wonderful undo feature. You can undo absolutely any operation. Oplog will show you all the operations, and you can JJ op restore to any historical state, and it's wonderful. You basically can't make mistakes that mess up everything. But anyway, I've just undone my rebase because I wanted to preserve these bookmarks. So as I said, Jujutsu bookmarks are equivalent to Jujutsu bookmarks are equivalent to Git branches, and when the bookmark has an @origin suffix, that means that they're only on the in this case it's the origin remote. If I go and rebase a particular commit or change, then there's actually a new commit that has been incorporated inside the rebased change. And let's just do it. Let's just change it undo again. And in Jujutsu, an undo of an undo is equivalently to doing the original operation. So there we go. We redid the rebase. We've lost our bookmarks. Why did we really lose the bookmarks? Well, let's have a look. There used to be one on this commit. because remember it was the topmost one of the set. This is a change identifier, and if we do a JJ evo log of that change, we can see that originally it had this relative URLs at origin bookmark, but then I went and rebased it, and it's no longer, the bookmark hasn't kept up, and there you can see it's conflicted. I would like the bookmarks to sort of follow along to the most recent commit in each change. So the way you do that is you track bookmarks. Let's undo the rebase again. I would like to track every at origin bookmark. So I'm going to do JJ bookmark track, and if you do a help, you'll see that you can give it a glob, you can give it a revset expression identifying bookmarks that you'd like to track. So let's just track everything. So glob remote bookmarks at origin. So every commit that has a bookmark, an at origin bookmark, creates a local bookmark to track it. Did that work? No. Is that how we do it? I don't think so. No. Maybe it's just glob star. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so every bookmark, every remote bookmark now has a local equivalent. And if we do a log, so now we can see bookmarks without the at origin. And now if we do the rebase, and now if we do the log, okay, so now we still have bookmarks, and you see the little star. That means that the local bookmark differs from the upstream GitHub bookmark. So again, if you want to see that in detail, you can do a JJ evo log and so there's the GitHub bookmark, here's the local bookmark. Anyway, after that bookmark digression, let's get back to the mechanics of rebasing stuff. So we've rebased our 6 little subtrees. Now we want to rebase our merge onto those 6. And we can use the same revset expression, which is this, to identify what we want now to be the parents of our merge commit. So let's do a JJ log to identify what we want. So starting again at our basic expression here, we want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are the 6 correct little sub-branches that we want to be descendants. But again, we're going to be doing a JJ rebase from source, what's it called? This guy. That one, we're going to rebase that subtree onto all these guys. But if you recall, just as previously with the previous rebase, we needed to identify the roots of all. Now we want to identify the tips of each one. And what's it called? Roots and heads. I think it's heads. Whoops, I should probably log R. Yes, okay, so heads is the correct function to identify only the most recent commits, like this guy, of each sub-branch, and they do, most of them do have bookmarks as well. If I was better at naming my bookmarks, we could have identified these with bookmarks, but this one doesn't have a bookmark. So that's basically correct. JJ Rebase, source, whoops, I should have a bookmark for this commit as well, because it's quite important. Onto all the revisions identified by that. Now if we look, okay, there we go. So we rebased this guy onto our 6 remaining sets of changes. That's basically it. So we've rebased, first of all, to recap, we rebased our changes onto the new master at upstream, and secondly, we rebased our merge onto the remaining unmerged sets of changes. If you recall, if we were doing a rebase help, I said I'd get back to this branch option. We used -s, and it turns out that -b does exactly what we want. If you look at the definition of -b, it gives you roots of x to y. So we could have actually, instead of doing this whole expression here, we could have done rebase -b. So let's just undo everything and do it all with -b. So if we do an op log, we can see everything that we've done. There's the rebase of our merge commit. There's me tracking bookmarks. Here's me rebasing all my sub-branches onto the new master at upstream. This is the one that I want to undo, so I'm going to pick the operation just before it and op restore that identifier. So that's here. This is just before all the rebases. And now if you do a log-r, we're right back at the beginning when I just pulled from the upstream commits and I hadn't yet rebased anything. I also hadn't done the bookmark tracking, which I'm now going to redo now because I did want it. Should have done that much earlier. Okay, so as I said, we want to rebase these 6 onto master at upstream, but this time we're going to do rebase -b, and we said that our expression was the parents of that one onto the destination master at upstream. And I believe that will just work if we do all and ignore immutable. Right. And I think that is what we want. So there's our upstream, and there's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rebased subtrees. So that expression is equivalent to this guy here. The reason I like to use -s, even though that is exactly equivalent to that, is because I can do a JJ log to first identify what's going to happen. If you use -b, I don't think that there's a way to do a log first to say what's going to happen, which is why I began with the -s, because this is a bit of a tutorial rather than just how to get things done. But there you go. So in future, once you get used to Jujutsu, you will just be doing rebased with -b, and give it the parents of your merged node, and the destination will be the new master. And of course, we then needed to rebase our merge, which is the same as before, I think. So it'll be the heads of this guy. Okay, so there we go. So about these conflicts, they've been appearing in all my logs. While we're doing videos, let's just show how to resolve conflicts. So this, as I said, it's a new feature. It's now broken since we've rebased onto Tom's master. The way you fix a conflict is you do a new commit onto identifying the conflicted commit somehow. You can either use that identifier or a bookmark in this case. And Jujutsu helpfully tells you what is conflicted about this. So I'm going to now open up this page, search for the conflict markers, and the way I read these conflict markers is I find the section that doesn't have little pluses or minuses, so this guy, and I say, how can I modify this to incorporate this change? So this change is, I was doing PHP 8.4 deprecation, so I added a default to blank here. So I've now redone that change, so I can delete that conflict marker. There's no other conflicts in that file. Done with that. Let's open up this one, see what's wrong with it. So in this one, it appears I entirely deleted this check config health function. And I know for a fact that I did actually want that gone, so I will remove that and leave it like that. So here you can see that commit that I just created on top of my conflicted commit, and now I'm going to do a JJ squash. And now if we look at it, that commit is now fixed. So again, I'm going to do a JJ new on top of this one was conflicted. Edit the file that's conflicted. In this case, I just wanted to leave the upstream version. And JJ squash. And there's one more conflict. You can actually, it's quite helpful. Jujutsu tells you what you need to do next to fix the next conflict. You don't need to do a JJ log and figure it out manually each time. So in this case, that's basically correct. All the other changes are irrelevant. Vim and this is the one that I deleted. So because I've fixed earlier conflicts, the later ones are a bit easier. JJ squash. So I'm now fixing, okay, so yeah, these are all the PHP CS fixer ones. I don't care about them. I've fixed it all up to my merge commit, so I'm happy with that. I think that's about it. So what did we do? We we went through the various types of rebases. We've done the bookmark tracking thing. We've explored a bit about op log. And finally, imagining I had, well, even if I haven't fixed the conflicts, I would now want to push these changes up to GitHub. So I would do a jj git push -b, and then for each bookmark that has a star indicating that the local bookmark is diverged from the GitHub bookmark, I would give it the name of the remote. I would give it the name of the book hub. And by doing that, you will see the branches up on GitHub will reflect the local changes. I do actually have elsewhere. I do actually have a bookmark called master, which incorporates this merged commit. I haven't got it in this example. So that's basically it. Thanks for watching.